screwing around and start!
PointyStarVio here. We're going to be doing a Madolche deck update profile thing. People have been asking for it. I haven't seen very many other people do Madolche profiles. With all the support that's come out, I really like the deck. One of my favorite decks of all time, so it's going to be fun profiling this for you. To start off, we're going to have 3 copies of Madolche. Madolche is one of the main cards in the deck. Do you know when it's summoned, you can add any, when it's normal summoned, add from your deck any Madolche monster, including itself. It was one of the last cards that I was allowed to search for itself. Under the field spell, it's a 1900 beater, and it's a level 4 Madolche, which is kind of key for the deck. 3 copies of Angeli. What Angeli does for you is she's kind of your main card. When she's on the field, you could tribute it, then search from your deck and summon 1 Madolche monster. So you can summon a Hoot Cake, which is the next card I'm running at 3, and then you can use Hoot Cake's effect, which is banish 1 Madolche card in your graveyard, or 1 card, excuse me, 1 monster from your graveyard, and then summon another Madolche from your deck. So what you could do with Angeli is normal summon Angeli, tribute it, get Hoot Cake, banish Angeli, summon from your deck. Angeli also protects this card for 1 turn, and then during your opponent's or during your next end phase, not this one, but like the next turn's end phase, you have to shuffle your Hoot Cake back, or whatever cards you summon off of her. So there's that. But the main thing is, Angeli gets your plays running. The card in order to help combo is 2 copies of Kitty. So what Kitty does is you can go Kitty, special summon Angeli, because it's when this card's normal summon, special summon Madolche from your hand. So Kitty, summon Angeli, and then you have your combo, which is the main combo. I'll do a couple combos at the end of the video, just so you can see some of the things about the deck. 3 copies of Messengelato. I hate Messengelato. A card I would actually suggest trying is maybe running 2 Messengelato and 1 Crufsaunt. Crufsaunt's a decent card for the deck. I feel like he would be a really decent card to run at 1, just because being able to bounce a spell and get him stronger, as well as he's a beast that you can use for some of the combos, I think that'd be a really good effect. I might be testing it myself. Right now I'm running 3, but I think I'm going to switch to 2 and 1. I'm also running 1 Pudding Cess because I have the Chocoella mode little combos in the deck. Now, the only non-Madolche monsters we're running in this build, 2 Veilers. There's plenty of other cards you could try running. You could try Max Season here, you could try DD Crows. Any kind of hand trap monsters are really, really good for this deck. I just find Veiler my favorite because it's a turn 1 out to whatever your opponent does, and that's really strong in the game. Moving on to spells. We have 2 Chateau and 2 Ticket. Running 2 and 2 is very key for this deck. If any card ever dies, you can shuffle it back and get a new card with Ticket. And Chateau says if anything ever dies, you can add it to your hand. And then you can basically get a +2 off of nothing. And that becomes really strong. As well as if you have a fairy out, i.e. Queen, you can summon straight from your deck, which is really strong. For regular spells, we are running 2 Instant Fusion and a Double Summon to help your plays. So if Cat gets Veilered or Fiendish Chained or anything, you have problems. So Double Summon lets you get that extra card out that you were going to special summon in the first place. As well as Instant Fusion lets you do weird combos, which I'll explain after the video. Only other spells I'm running, 2 Space, Geki, and Book of Moon. The reason being is you want to fight your opponent's back row. Geki wipes the board so that way you can use the Queen to fight through the back row, and Book of Moon helps your Queen. So if you start activating a Queen effect, your opponent chains something like Veiler or Fiendish chain a Book, your Queen will go face down, her effect will resolve, and their negation effect will fizzle, which allows you to resolve Queens under weird situations like that. This deck, I keep mentioning Queen, but it's really just kind of mainly Queen deck. You have other cards that you can run and other cards you can summon, but it's really mainly you're going into Queen. For traps, we're starting off with the Palooza. Palooza's your main, you don't ever resolve Palooza, but if you do, you've won that game. It's just kind of a fact. Palooza does that for you. When you summon it, all your Madolches come out, and you basically just win. We have 2 copies of Trap Stun. You like your heavier trap lineup because it's such a heavy combo-based deck, but Trap Stun, what it does for you is it gives you that safety for when your opponent has a big back row. Flip up the Trap Stun and do that. You can run Lances. I do have them over here in case if I wanted to run them, because Lance is a decent card for the deck. It's just I personally prefer Trap Stun to the Lance because Lance weakens your monster, and you don't really want to weaken the Queen because she's not sitting at that high of a stat. I mean, sure, 27's big, but she'll lose the field spell gain, and she'll drop down, which puts her at, I think, is 1500 attack, which is not a very strong or impressive stat at all. We have 2 copies of Mirror Force. The Mirror Force, what this does for you is it lets you fight through your opponent's back row, or monsters, excuse me, keeping your cards out. So you can normal summon your Madolche, and if you start your turn with a Madolche and the combo in hand, you have a guaranteed game that turn because you have the extra level 4 you need for it. We also have the 1 Storming, 1 Deep Prison. I like Storming a lot. I would suggest 2 Storming. I would also suggest maybe 1 Storming and 1 of the Blazing Mirror Force that's coming out. I don't know if it's out or not. It's basically Ring of Destruction fused into Mirror Force. Both players take damage equal to all the monsters your opponent controls, so that's a lot of damage, but Madolches have a strange kind of OTK thing, and that just guarantees the OTK. I also love Storming Mirror Force, and if you really like it, the 2, 1, and 1 are good. You could even potentially run 1, 1, 1, and 1, running 1 of each kind. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally just really like Storming Mirror Force. Moving on to the staple trap cards, we are running 1 Bottomless, 1 Compulse, 1 Torrential, 1 Ring of Destruction, and a Warning. Each card's got its use for a different situation. You can Torrential burning off just 1 card like a Madolche, and you can use that card in the graveyard for a Hoot Cake, so Cat Hoot Cake becomes live. Compulse and Bottomless are good. Ring of Destruction and Solemn Warning are great. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it, but whenever a Madolche monster is destroyed, instead of going to the graveyard, or instead of staying in the graveyard, when it goes to the graveyard, it shuffles back to the deck. This is a mandatory effect and cannot be really negated by almost anything. Pretty sure you can debunk it, but hardly anybody ever plays debunk. That's kind of the main essence of the Madolche deck. There's lots of other cards you could try, but we're going to move into the side deck and the extra deck. So we're going to start off with extra. So we're going to start off with 2 copies of Queen. What Queen does is 2 level 4 Madolches, once per turn, detach material. Target up to 2 Madolche cards in the graveyard. As long as you had 1 already in the graveyard, you can apply this effect and change the targets to the one that you detached as well. You can then shuffle back those 2 cards into the deck, and then shuffle cards your opponent controls into the deck up to the amount that you shuffled. You don't have to do, you don't even have to shuffle back more than I think 1 card your opponent controls, even if you shuffle back 2. And if you have Field Spell and Ticket out, you can pull them to your hand and then summon from your deck, which is really nice. But Queen's really good for that matter. Running 2 copies of Chokewaller Mode. So she's the new card. I will try and zoom in a little bit on her. So what she does is, she's 2,500. You can put this on XYZ, summon this by XYZ summoning on top of an XYZ monster. As well as, this card gains, so it's 2,500 attack. If you have Pudding Cess underneath it, you have the effect of, when this card's summoned, target a monster in your graveyard, a Madolche monster in your graveyard, shuffle it into the deck. Then, if a Madolche card is shuffled into the deck, you can detach a material from this card, summon from your deck a Madolche card face up or face down. So you can summon out of your deck a Messenger Lotto or a dog. Then cards effects like Ticket would activate, summoning out of your deck Messenger Lotto, which is why I would suggest running the dog, because it gives you that combo. Running 2 Levier the Sea Dragon, because he's the main combo card. Hoot Cake banishes, and so you go Kitty, Angeli, Hoot Cake, banish Angeli, pull back Angeli. That's your staple combo. As well as 1 Invoker in case if you do end up not banishing the card. So Invoker lets you pull out of your deck the Messenger Lotto, which is really helpful in some situations. To finish out the rank 3s, I am running Alucard. The main reason is I feel like you have a lot of situations where you'll have 2 3s and 2 4s, and Alucard just lets you get through the back row. He's been hit by more back row negation stuff because he will fight through the back row than any of the other cards. We'll zoom back out a little bit again, sorry. Next we have a Castel and a Shark to help with the summon negation. You really just kind of want to get through some of your opponent, or not negation, but fighting your opponent's cards. This card really does help that. Your opponent gets out different cards and you just got to fight through them, and Castel and Shark do a good job of doing that. I also run Cowboy for game. If you guys saw the greatest YouTuber championship thingy, I got 3rd place, and almost explicitly from Cowboy winning me every single game that I won. Except for maybe 1, which I even think that he just scooped before I could summon Cowboy. Cowboy is that kind of card. 800 damage is a lot, as well as if you have him out, you can beat over monsters that are really strong using his attack position effect. But it's mainly a free detach, 800 burn for game, and Madolches always have that extra level 4. Last card is Gaga Samurai. You could run a variation of other cards like Abyss Dweller, Direwolf, Ragna Zero, or even Rhapsody Memory, but I would really prefer to use Gaga Samurai because there is an OTK you can do that I'll show you after the video. We have 1 copy of Fusionist because it's a level 3, 1 copy of Norden. He allows for OTK stuff. He also just is a level 4 monster you can XYZ with, and 1 Parapsychroid. Parapsychroid allows you to do the second FTK OTK thingy using Chokewaller Mode. But that is the extra deck. Moving on to side deck cards. I use cards like DD Crow and Flying C in the side deck. You can also run Max C. I just don't have Max C's right now. 2 DD Crow, 2 Flying C, 2 Max C. Really good all staple side deck cards. Artifact Lancia. Use this card on your opponent's turn to negate their cards, and then it's a monster you can banish during your turn. I really do like the hand traps. Mind Control is a decent card because you can take your opponent's monster and exceed with it. You can't make a queen, but that's why you run random other XYZs. It just allows you to get into those. Cards like Poisonous Winds, you don't make wind monsters ever besides maybe Castell, but that's not important. You mainly stick with the Earth attribute, so Poisonous Winds becomes a good card. I love Soul Release, you guys know this. It saved me in a lot of duels just because I always seem to face weird decks like, I can't remember the name of the deck. It's like black, I don't know, whatever. It's Beal's Turbo, there we go. Stuff like Farfa, I wouldn't really suggest Farfa as much. I kind of test around with him a little bit because he's a waste of a normal summon. In some decks, when he's sent to the graveyard, you can do things, but it's a matter of he can get spot removals. Since we don't really have to worry about Winda as much, I would suggest either putting a dog here in the side deck or in your main deck. Then we have 2 copies of Ojama Trio and such, because what you can do with Ojama Trio, fill up your opponent's battle or monster field thing, monster zones, and just kind of deal with that, as well as stuff like Shadow and Light Mirror are all just good cards to side. So that's the profile. You can stop here if you want. Remember, like, subscribe, and all that. And we're going to move on to the little combo things. So we have a combo that's sort of more of a first turn combo, I guess you could say. This is going to be one that the only things you really need to do it is 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Angeli, 1 Cat. Now, we're going to show you this little combo. I'll zoom it out just a little bit more. Normal summon a Cat. Cat effect, special summon from your hand, Angeli. Angeli, tribute this card to the graveyard, summon out of your deck, Hoot Cake. Now, the next card you're going to play is Instant Fusion. You all know who I'm going to summon. I'm going to summon Norden. Norden is going to pull out from the graveyard 1 Angeli. XYZ these 2 into that card I explained earlier, Gagaga Samurai. Make sure you detach the Angeli. All this does is it allows you to do the regular Madolche combo, but you also have an extra monster out. Hoot Cake effect will banish the Angeli to summon out of your deck a Messengelato. Messengelato will search for either Ticket or Chateau. It's better if you have a Ticket or a Chateau, and sometimes by this point in time you will have Ticket or Chateau. But I'm going to search for, let's just say, Ticket. Now, overlay these 2 into a Levier. Sorry, my arm is totally in front of the camera there. Now, if you have Chateau here, so let me grab the Chateau. If you have the Chateau right now, what you can do instead of doing what I'm going to do is you can change just a little bit. So this play right here changes a little bit based on whether you have Chateau or Ticket. Not that much. So if you have Chateau and Ticket or just Ticket, what you do is you'll detach this Hoot Cake to summon back Angeli. But if you have Chateau already out or Chateau and Ticket, then you send this card to the grave, Kitty. So for the sake of this little thing, we're going to have both out, just so I can show you what I would like to do here. Summon out of your banished pile, Angeli. Overlay these 2 into said Queen. The Queen does now detach the Angeli, because if you have Chateau, you detach Angeli and Cat. If you don't have Chateau, you detach the Hoot Cake and the Messengelato, because those 2 will go into the deck. But if you have Chateau, you can detach these 2. These 2 go back to your hand, spin 2 of your opponent's cards. Ticket then summons straight out of your deck. Here I would summon a dog if I ran it, but since I don't have the dog, I'm just going to summon out a Messengelato. Messengelato is a pretty solid card. You could also summon out Pudding Sass here. A Messengelato is good just for a beater, but if you have no cards in graveyard, you can summon back Pudding Sass. She becomes really strong. 23, I believe, under field spell with no cards in grave. This allows you to have 2 of the 3 cards you started your turn off with, which is Kitty and Angeli. You don't have the Instant Fusion anymore, but you now have on board 18, 2 19s, a 25, or 27, excuse me, and a 23. As well as, if you really want that extra damage, just drop Choco Lamote on top of Queen. That's 3,000, so that's basically 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2, and you have insane game right there. So that's one of the 2 OTK things. The other one's a little bit more tricky. I'll still show it to you just because I can. This one sort of really just requires you to have both Chateau and Ticket. So it's not like you're not going to be able to get this off on the first turn. You're going to build a couple turns getting this stuff set up. But if you have a Ticket and a Chateau out in the same little hand, you can do a different OTK kind of play. So we're going to normal summon Kitty. Special summon Angeli like the last game. Or last thing. Send the Angeli to the graveyard, summon Hoot Cake. Now what we're going to do here is do a little bit different of a play. Hoot Cake is going to banish the Angeli, and you're going to summon out of your deck Pudding Cess. Then activate Instant Fusion to summon from your extra deck Parapsychroid. Overlay these two into Levier. What Levier allows you to do is detach this card, summon from your banish pile this card. So you can detach this or this. Really depends on what you want to do. You could keep this. The one that you detach here will be mandatory going to the deck. Just for the sake of everything, I'll put this guy in the grave. The card that you XYZ with now is the Parapsychroid and the Pudding Cess to make Choco a la mode. Now her effect is target a Madolche in grave. Shuffle into the deck. If you do, detach a material, send it to grave, and then summon from your deck any Madolche. So what you can do here is summon out of your deck for all sake of purposes of everything, this card is going to pretend to be Croissant. Summon out of your deck a Croissant. Then Ticket's going to activate next, and you're going to get a summon out of your deck a Messengelato. Reason why you want this is because you got to have a search off Messengelato now for something else. This is where you would search for Chateau. So if you can, you really only need this card, and this card, and like a kitty, but that's still a 4-card requirement. Next thing you do is you take the Messengelato and you take the Angeli, overlay them into a Queen. Use Queen's effect. Detach Messengelato if you wish. These two will go back to the deck if you do, or you can detach Angeli, but you'll have a Pudding Cess and an Angeli in your hand. So really, I feel like this is probably better to shuffle back into the deck. Then you now have your field set up of 2 copies of Choco a la mode, because you're able to dump the second Choco a la mode on top of the Queen if you wish. Levier and a dog, which dog can just bounce, Ticket, come back. Dog becomes 23, 3,000, 3,000, 18, which is almost exactly 8,000. This is a little bit more like a weirder kind of play, but it does allow you to, for later turns, kind of have a strange thing. The other play is probably a little bit better, but once again, this is kind of a little bit more fun of a play. But that's my Madolche deck profile. Thanks for watching if you watched all the way to the end. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below your favorite color to show that you watched it all the way to the end. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that. And as always, have a wonderful day. Yeah.